Her full name was Jacqueline Lee Bouvier Kennedy Onassis, but she was one of the rare ones, instantly recognizable anywhere in the world by only one name, Jackie. Many people will always remember how she captivated the nation and the rest of the world with her intelligence, beauty, and grace. She was not only the First Lady of the United States, she was a trendsetter, a restorer, an editor and writer, and the loving wife to the late John F. Kennedy and mother of two children, Caroline and John Jr. Jackie was born on July 28, 1929, in East Hampton, New York, on the South Shore of Long Island. Her father, John Bouvier, was a very wealthy stockbroker on Wall Street, and her mother, Janet Norton Lee, was a noted horsewoman. She also had a younger sister named Caroline. The sisters had quite different personalities, however. Jackie was bold and outspoken, while Caroline was shy and polite. Jackie attended and graduated from Miss Porter's School, a boarding school for adolescent girls in Connecticut, in 1947. Also in 1947, she was dubbed the Debutante of the Year. She had poise, was soft-spoken and intelligent. She was everything the leading debutante should be. Her social success, however, did not stop her from furthering her education. Jackie attended Vassar College in New York. There she studied history, literature, art, and French. During her sophomore year, she saw a notice for a junior exchange program in Paris, France. She applied and was accepted to start the following year. After a year in France, living with a very kind family and having the time of her life, she returned to the United States and attended her final year of school at George Washington University. Jackie started her first job in the fall of 1951 as the inquiring camera girl for the Washington Times-Herald newspaper. Her job was to go around the city of Washington asking citizens questions on the issues of the day, which she would later write up in a newspaper column. Her path soon crossed with the most eligible bachelor in the capital. John F. Kennedy was a congressman and the soon-to-be senator of Massachusetts. The two met in 1951 at a dinner party in Washington, D.C. Their romance progressed slowly and privately, but their wedding in Newport on September 12, 1953, attracted nationwide publicity. She then would have to adapt herself to the new position of wife of one of the country's most energetic political figures. In January 1960, John F. Kennedy announced that he would be running for the United States presidency. His decision demanded him to work long hours and travel all over the world. Only a few weeks into her husband's campaign, Jackie learned that she was pregnant with their first child, Caroline. Jackie stayed at home as John traveled, but helped him nonetheless. She answered thousands of campaign letters, taped television commercials, gave interviews, and wrote a weekly newspaper column, Campaign Wife. The successful election against Richard M. Nixon on November 8, 1960, gave Mrs. Kennedy even more responsibilities. They also had their second child, John F. Kennedy, Jr. On January 20, 1961, John F. Kennedy took the oath of office to become the nation's 35th president. At age 31, Jackie was now the First Lady. Her compassionate personal style, her enthusiasm for history and the arts, and her deep sense of responsibility for her country made Jackie worthy of her new role. Jackie's first priorities, however, were being a good, supportive wife and a loving mother to her children. After the 1960 election, Mrs. Kennedy set out to make the White House a home. She not only wanted it to be a place where her children could grow up happily, but she wanted people who came to the White House every day to have more of an appreciation for the building's original beauty. Jackie intended to restore and preserve the White House as a place that would reflect America's history. After researching, buying the finest art and furniture, and creating the White House Fine Arts Committee, Jackie, along with many workers and professionals, restored all of the public rooms in the White House. She was honored with an Emmy Award for her audacious work. Jackie truly was an ambassador of goodwill. She traveled with her husband all over the United States and the world. An advisor to President Kennedy and a valued lawyer, Clark Clifford, said to Jackie, "Once in a great while, an individual will capture the imagination of all people all over the world. You have done this, and what is more important, through your graciousness and tact, you have transformed this rare accomplishment into an incredibly important asset to this nation." Soon after mourning the early death of their third son, Patrick, more tragedy struck. On November 22, 1963, Mr. and Mrs. Kennedy were in Dallas for a presidential visit. As their car drove slowly past cheering crowds, shots rang out. President Kennedy was killed, and Jacqueline Kennedy became a widow at age 34. She planned the president's state funeral, which was watched by millions around the world who shared her grief and admired her courage and dignity. Soon after John's death, Jackie began to organize the John F. Kennedy Library and Museum as a memorial to her late husband. Several years later, in 1968, Jackie married a very wealthy Greek man who was in the shipping business. Aristotle Onassis was 23 years her senior and passed away in March of 1975 after only 8 years of marriage. Jackie was, for the second time, a widow. Now that her children were older, she decided to find work that would be fulfilling. Jackie began to work as an editor at Viking Press in New York City because she had always loved writing and literature. She enjoyed a successful career in publishing until her death on May 19, 1994. Jacqueline Bouvier Kennedy Onassis was laid to rest beside John F. Kennedy in Arlington National Cemetery outside of Washington, D.C. At her funeral, her son John described her 3 most loved qualities: a lover of words, the bonds of home and family, and her spirit of adventure.